All right. I have a couple of comments that the speakers made me think of. One, if you're new to the area, Raleigh has an incredible system of greenways that were kind of touched on a little bit there with some of what they talked about. They're amazing. There's one close to my house that I walk on all the time. They're awesome. I also want to say that we brag all the time about our 300 volunteers, so which is pretty amazing. When I hear 12,000 volunteers, holy cow, that's a lot. Also want to thank Neal for talking about Sorilla, which is one of my favorite plants, the Tai. It is an awesome plant. It is nothing better for pollinators. It gets covered in pollinators. It'll take dry, it'll take wet. It's awesome. And also, I want to mention kind of part of what we do here we evaluate plants. We try and get plants out to the public. And buttonbush was mentioned a couple times, one of our great natives. Buttonbush sometimes can look a little raggedy late in the season, kind of like Adrienne was talking about with the garden looking tired at dog days of summer. We've got one that we've been promoting and putting out and getting in nurserymen's hands. We need to give y'all some. We call it Just Deserts, because it's actually a Western form from Texas, and the foliage stays much cleaner and much finer by the end of the season, even when it's bone dry, and it's just as good a pollinator plant. So that's what we're always looking for, is how to make our garden plants better, whether they're native or non-native. So we have questions. Yes, go ahead. Okay, question was specific, but I'll broaden it out. So many of the places we're living, they're cutting down everything. They take up all the topsoil, go down to subsoil. Is there, based on y'all's experience with Raleigh becoming this great biophilic and city, is there a way to help encourage some of these city mandates for managing stormwater? Y'all have any suggestions for how to encourage our leaders to do that?
Well, and I think that's the word, is encouraging and incentivizing. It is very difficult to mandate. Sometimes you don't want to mandate. Our GSI policy is requiring the evaluation of GSI. We're not saying you have to do GSI, but it is encouraging the use of it. Our Raleigh Rainwater Rewards program is giving back the stormwater utility fees back to the public so they can do more GSI, incentivizing it. Again, we're trying to improve our processes to also incentivize maybe the time it takes to go through planning or permitting for development that is going to be utilizing GSI. So I think we're trying to think of creative ways to incentivize it, to make it something that is easy to do, clearly beneficial to do, and I think people don't realize how much influence they have by speaking to your local leadership and just talking to your neighbors and making your voice heard, that this is something that you want. So I would just encourage to continue to make your opinion known, and hopefully there will be the ability to kind of use Raleigh as a model for some of the things that we're doing.
And I'll say with these, to tie these two talks together, looking at some of these rain gardens and places where we're slowing water down, even if it isn't a true rain garden, Raleigh, there was a lot of focus on native plants, but you take some of these things like crinums and cannas and elephant ears and hibiscus, which y'all mentioned, the mallows, which are native, the ones Adrienne talked about, those hardy hibiscus, those are bred from our native mallows, which there are a lot of, and a lot of those plants are fantastic in there. And so you get these great looks, and if it has flowers, it probably has pollinators. And despite what some people tell you, pollinators don't care where the plant comes from. It's size and shape of flower. All right, another question over here. So the question was, is the Raleigh Rainwater Rewards only available in the city of Raleigh or the county, Wake County?
Yeah, so specifically Raleigh Rainwater Rewards is only available in the city of Raleigh for those ratepayers that pay into our utility fee. However, my previous position was in Durham County. There's soil and water conservation districts that have the Community Conservation Assistance Program. That is a similar program where there is cost share available for similar practices. So I would suggest you look to Wake County Soil Water Conservation District, and that would. Does anyone else know of any other types of cost share programs out there right now?
Just a lot of municipal grants that you're talking
And
about.
and there are occasionally grants that municipalities will get. I think Cary also has a program growing. So I think more and more municipalities are trying to have this. So hopefully we'll see even more in the future. I'd be happy to speak with you afterwards and see if we can connect.
Yeah. So, and I would also encourage you, if you live somewhere else, check in with Extension, your Extension agent. They often know about grants that may be beyond your region, but also what's going on in your municipality, and can often point you in the right direction.
Hey, Mark, if you stand at the front, then people won't have to turn their heads to look at you.
Oh, I like standing in the back.
I love it.
You've already seen me. I'm already chatting away more than I said I was going to. Are there any online questions? Yeah, go ahead. So if a subdivision is already built out, how do we get, pardon?
Like an older subdivision.
An older subdivision, how do we get GSI plans for that?
That's exactly the type of existing development that Raleigh Rainwater Rewards retrofits can come in and retrofit these devices into those built environments.
All right, let's see right here. Yep. So the comment was, there are a lot of spaces around Raleigh and Wake County, besides some of the parks that were mentioned. They're small little pocket areas. The art museum, which has wonderful gardens and water retention. Are those all part of what you all do?
So in the city of Raleigh, there are over 200 parks throughout. We try to have a park within a mile of every resident in this city. So that's a huge amount of green space. And Raleigh always had a foundation for that. Back in the 70s, Raleigh was called the city within a park. And that was the master plan for the city. And so there's all these green fingers all throughout the neighborhoods of Raleigh, especially in the older neighborhoods. And our parks department, who I've worked for 13 years, has always maintained those spaces, and very challenging to maintain as well. But a lot of them are drainages, like streams or gullies, for lack of a better word. And they form, or they are the foundation for a healthier green stormwater infrastructure system throughout the whole city. So, but no, we only work on City of Raleigh municipal grounds. We don't work. Oh, no.
Not sure. Sorry, Neal. We actually partnered with North Carolina Museum of Art on a stream restoration project recently. That existing GSI is not ours, but we certainly would be willing to work with someone. They are also ratepayers, so on Raleigh Rainwater Rewards, totally fine. That Glenwood Avenue in St. Mary's, that was our cover photo. That was one of our projects. So yes, absolutely, that is a GSI site. It was just grassed before. We worked with the neighbors right there to get their feedback on that, and I think it's beautiful. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Does the GSI work with the health strips, those pieces between the road and sidewalk?
Absolutely. So with the city parks, we used to, we also have a transportation division. We take care of all the roadsides in the city of Raleigh, including all the trees that are in the right of way. So last time we counted, we think there's around 1 million trees that we manage in the right of ways.
But yes, the GSI, the bioretention that you saw it's very thin. It's only 4 feet wide. So yes, we can work in those areas. Sometimes they're not as cost effective, but there are certainly things that we can do. And in those meetings we talked about with the collaboration, our transportation field services were part of that too. So we're trying to find planting pallets that work, that are a little bit, maybe more ecosystem friendly in those areas as well.
Yeah, and I want to mention a lot of these ways to deal with rainwater. Where people think of, look, all this water is down here. We got to deal with it. Really, you deal with it at the top of that hill, not halfway down or at the bottom, because then it's moving fast. And if you put something retention there, it's down at the bottom at 2. So yeah, there are a lot of these, and a lot of what they're doing with Raleigh Rainwater Rewards, that the funding that they're helping with. If you encourage a lot of your neighbors to take advantage of that all up and down your street, that water isn't getting to the street. It's being stopped and being infiltrated in the landscapes up there. And that's the best way to deal with it, is not to try to do a big thing like y'all mentioned at the top, or to do drains or to do that. It's to stop it from getting to your road, not running down the driveway, not being shot out, not being put in a drain from your downspout, but capturing it on site. And I think that's the big thing, especially for homeowners. We often try and think of these huge solutions that will solve all the problems. And like most things, the problems are solved person by person by person individually. And so not only can you do your own garden, but you can encourage others to do it as well. Yes. So a group that, a small business that likes to give back to the community, looking for volunteer opportunities.
That's an excellent question. Yeah, we have Stormwater has a lot of volunteer opportunities. They're not all necessarily plant related, but we have stream cleanups. We have like community stream cleanups that happen twice a year. If you want to go out with your company or any group of people, we have Adopt a Stream where you can pick a stream section and go out whenever works for you. We have our storm drain marking program, where if you've ever seen those little stickers on a storm drain that say drains to Neuse River, that is a volunteer program that's completely run by our volunteers. Our visual monitoring is also an example of a volunteer program. It's less like group based, but it's still a cool thing to tell your friends and family about. And there are other organizations that we work with as well. The Great Raleigh Cleanup is another great nonprofit that does great work cleaning up our natural spaces. Anything that I missed or leave? Yeah, go for it.
Hi, I'm Fiona from Leaf and Limb. So we also have a nonprofit. We're working on more volunteer-based activities, but one way you can volunteer is it's called Project Pando, not Panda. Pando is a colony of quaking aspen in Utah that looks like it's a bunch of individual trees, but it's all connected by one root system. So it's the largest organism on Earth. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about, which was like we're all look very separate, but we're all very much interrelated and interconnected. So we grow donations of seeds. So the community drops off seeds at a couple different drop-off sites, especially at our shop, and then we grow and give those back out for free. So we give about 7,500 to 10,000 native tree seeds every year, and they're genetically diverse from our area and native, and we grow about 85 different native trees. So you can do a seed collection with your neighbors and drop them off, and then you can also, we're working on through maybe some partnerships with the city of Raleigh in the future or potential programs to be able to be giving these out more directly to citizens. We also do tree giveaways with the town of Cary every year. So there's plenty of ways to get the trees, but we especially need help collecting seeds because, you know, our trees are really beautiful and we need a lot of different variety to keep a healthy ecosystem, as we've been talking about diversity of tree species and especially ones that grow well in our ecotype. So that's a great way to get involved if you want to get involved with us.
Okay, I think Greg also wanted to speak. Go ahead.
Can I say one
Go
more?
ahead.
Yeah. I also want to mention that we have Creek Week in the spring, and so we always try to pilot new volunteer programs. And this past Creek Week, we successfully tried having a stream bank planting workshop as one of those volunteer programs. So Creek Week in early March is another great recent resource.
Thank you. We do volunteers too. We're a nonprofit. We have lots of opportunities. Our volunteer coordinators back here in the corner, please talk to us. Big groups, small groups, any level of interest in the garden, inside doing things, children's groups, lots and lots of different opportunities. As we grow and redo some areas, we're looking for people to help with those things. We've got events, so a wide range of things right here in front of you for those kinds of opportunities.
Moonlight in the garden, just saying. And I will say Leaf and Limb, the organization they volunteer some tree work, but they've also come out and volunteered. The office staff, everybody has come out to volunteer here and do some work. So yeah, it's great. All right, wetlands, midges, mosquitoes, that type of thing.
Well, we like to believe that a diverse ecosystem helps to manage mosquitoes. And so, having lots of birds present that can eat those mosquitoes and lots of other dragonflies, for example, like the mosquito hawk, they consume mosquitoes. So we try to have lots and lots of flowers blooming at all times. And we watch out for those monocultures of one plant. And that's what really breeds those mosquitoes. And stagnant water, like in your yard, is another way to avoid mosquitoes, such as tires and buckets and planting pots and things like that. Make sure you have all your yard drained of standing water.
The sign of a healthy ecosystem is frogs and critters like that, and they love all those mosquito larvae. You got to get them before they get big. But if you're spraying all kinds of things, then you're really doing damage to the ecosystem. You may be killing one thing, but that trickles down to others.
And I just wanted to mention the rain gardens. Sometimes the misconception is that they hold water and cause mosquitoes, but they are designed to drain before mosquitoes can breed in them. So that's not an issue. And if you ever were to there's actually a lot of mosquitoes in just gutters, just places you wouldn't imagine, not these natural landscapes. But cisterns, you can get those mosquito dunks and, treat anything like that too. So these, not mosquito friendly, these landscapes. Hopefully.
The mosquito dunks are perfectly safe. They do not hurt other things. And I something that you said I wanted to echo, but it went. So let me get back here. Clay, dealing with clay, everything we have here is, if you have a house, it's all been scraped, all the topsoil has been scraped off. Even if you have an old place, you were probably built on farmland, the soil's pretty worn out. So how do you deal with clay? I know Adrienne, as a gardener, has dealt with clay.
Yeah, just breaking up as much as you can. And we save our leaves where I work. What's funny is in downtown Winston-Salem area where John is and where I am, it's a lot of clay. If you go to my house in Walkertown, it's sandy loam, believe it or not. I've actually gotten a truck stuck in my yard because it was sandy loam. We had no traction. And then I got that truck stuck trying to get the first truck unstuck. But years of leaf litter has really helped. You don't have to remove the clay, but at least break it up and make it so that there's pore space where something can fall in. I've heard of gypsum breaking down. It's going to take years to do it. Lots of compost. There are plants, like the plants I showed, can grow in clay soils with some effort, but...
Yeah, and at Leaf and Limb, that's pretty much like half of, maybe 80% of what we think about is soil health, because trees are deeply impacted by compaction and poor soil conditions, which we have a lot of in the suburban environment. So like Mark was saying, the traditional way of building is to scrape all the topsoil, stabilize the soil, which is usually clay. But the benefit of our clay soil is actually really, really, really nutrient rich. It's incredibly powerful. It just needs organic life to be able to process and break down those nutrients. So exactly what Adrienne was saying is that organic life. So leaving the leaves is easy. It's the trees and your plants' natural food cycling. So if you leave the leaves, they break down. They feed life in the soil. Also, there's a huge amount of, is it 1 tablespoon of healthy soil has more life in it than all of the people on planet Earth. It's an incredibly rich ecosystem that we don't think about enough and is something that we absolutely need to feed. We don't agree, at least at Leaf and Limb, with a lot of chemical fertilizers just because they don't really do the long-term benefits of organic life. So you want nematodes, you want mycelium, you want all of those lovely things. So compost, leaves, what's coming off the back of our trucks, which is the chip truck. So arborist wood chips, and really dealing with compaction. Trees need open, loamy, airy soil, or not necessarily loamy, but just open soil to be able to get nutrients and water to infiltrate. It also helps with stormwater. Having more open soil horizons allows more water to infiltrate. So One of the ways you can do it, if your soil's really compacted and there's nothing else you can do, there are people like us or other people in the world that do air spade work, which is basically a high pressure device, which is really fun to use if you've never used it. We use it all the time. Shoots air at 120 miles per hour out of this basically a cannon, and we put it on the ground, and it doesn't hurt the fibrous roots of plants, but it opens up that soil, and then you can top dress with compost. It's also incredibly important if you're thinking like, oh, my house is from 1970. No one's been, walking around here, but our feet actually lead to a lot of compaction. So if you're walking around your backyard in the same path every day, you're putting 120 to 250 pounds of pressure on that spot everywhere you walk, which can really compact the soil over time. So even if you're like, no one's been grading my lot, it's really just important to think about soil porosity. So adding as much organic life as possible is the best thing you can do for your soil.
All right, I'm going to throw one out there for you for clay. Something that it's blown my mind. I've been doing this professionally for 3 decades, and I just learned about it 5 or 8 years ago. Daikon radishes? Yeah. The other name for those are tillage radishes. Don't buy daikon radish seed, buy tillage radish seed, because you could buy it by a big bag from farm supply stores. Daikon radish seed, much more expensive and smaller package. If you have sun, this doesn't work in shade, in the fall, September-ish, about a month from now, go out, rake out some of those areas. It can be under other plants. If you have, planted plants there, you scrape away any mulch, scrape it up a little bit, throw that tillage radish seed down. It will come up over the winter. It'll actually look a beautiful ground cover all winter long, and it will form daikon radishes, and they're called tillage radishes because they will break up some of that clay that you have. Now, you'll get some seed that come up for the next couple of years. It's not a big deal, but you can harvest them, I guess, and eat them. Daikon radishes are kind of meh to me, but I did it in my garden after I learned, and I just left them in there. And so you've got these where they've broken up, they're breaking down, they're mostly water. So any organic matter is coming in there and filling up those spots. You're adding organic matter just by them being there. And it actually looks beautiful over the winter. And it's a good way you do that, and then next spring put some compost over those areas, and it's phenomenal stuff. All right, we have another question. Got any online? I'm glad this is a question for you and not for me. We had some magic going on. Somebody had a hedychium with thin yellow petals where they lived somewhere else, and they moved up here and they became larger and white.
In all honesty, I really do think there was some dominant plant in there already and choked out the yellow one. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I have seen that phenomenon before, and I always kind of like, you're crazy. But there's got to be another reason. I think it's just something else dominated it and choked it out.
Yeah, the most common ginger lily that's grown throughout the Southeast is the white butterfly ginger, Hedychium coronarium. It's a pass-along plant, and if you put it and another ginger near each other, that white butterfly ginger is going to take over. So that's the best we can tell you. All right, small ornamental trees along a public sidewalk for an alley. We've got trees, and we've got Greg here, who's a tree man. And I'm sure he's got some ideas. And invariably, as soon as somebody asks you for a tree ID, every tree disappears out of your head.
Yeah, and that's what just happened to me.
I'll tell you this: don't do crepe myrtles. We want diversity, and there's too many of them.
Yeah. Redbuds are great. They're all over the city here. It's a great urban tree. I like things that look good winter, spring, summer, fall. There's different types of carpinus, hornbeam. Ostraya virginiana is an underutilized urban tree. There's styrax, which are kind of small and good. Fall color, nice flowers, pretty tough, bomb-proof. There's some dwarf taxodiums. You talked about taxodiums being a great urban tree. Ginkgos are a great urban tree. You got them too.
Yeah.
Leaf and limb. The tree
The pressure is on. Oh my gosh. Okay. Now, there's some that are actually really great on the Raleigh street tree. They can sometimes have a little bit of issues with like pollution, but sourwoods, Kentucky yellowwoods, and New Brunswick counties, are down by the coast. So I mean, I would say that even white fringe tree, that's one of my favorites. It's a really good dupe for a crepe myrtle if you like the form of kind of a really nice, smaller, 20 to 30 foot, good under power line tree that has virtually no pest issues and has really beautiful flowers. The white fringe tree is a really great option. And sourwood would be, what the sourwood honey is coming from. Kentucky yellowwood is just a gorgeous flowering tree. Is these beautiful white, drooping flowers. So yeah, there are a lot. And I would always recommend too that most municipalities do have their street tree lists. If your county or your municipality doesn't have an approved street tree list, that's a great way for the question about Wake Forest, which is unfortunately not here anymore, but to kind of push for native trees is a great way to kind of move that needle forward within your municipalities, is to ask for a native street tree list. And I know those are on the Raleigh's street tree list, and they work really well in our environment. Any more that you want to add?
Yeah, I echo all that, although I would also say don't necessarily be constrained by native trees. That is not a native habitat at all along the street tree, but do be careful about things that get large and can get in the way of power lines and things like that, because then they'll just get butchered or cut down. Yes, sir. Yes. So the question or comment was, with permeable paving, can weeds come up through it at some point? And this person has seen where somebody has put plastic sheeting under the permeable paver. I'll save y'all from that part. Yes, that defeats the purpose. And talk about weeds and permeable paving.
So there is maintenance that's required for these devices. Certainly, it's not maintenance free. So there are sort of vacuums, air vacs that will suck up some of the. You don't want to first have permeable pavement under trees or store your mulch piles on it. We don't want to try to get that debris. So you try to have an open space where you're not going to get a ton of that sediment there. But certainly there are annual or practices where you will have to kind of suck up some of that gravel, replace that gravel, and then you won't have the soil there filling up the void space to have those plants grow. So, and I would say this, the permeable pavement is a very specific device. You can certainly have pavers with grass. There's other types of pavement systems that you can grow grass through, like on purpose. So there's different types than what we showed you. But as long as it infiltrates water, it is serving that purpose.
Okay. Some of the plants like elephant ears that Adrienne talked about certainly don't look like our natives, don't look like necessarily what you'd see there. What are some suggestions for making them fit into a landscape more and not look out of place?
Well, I think just breaking up the colors and the textures, the texture especially. Elephant ears are going to be wide and upright. Plant something low in front of it. Plant something with finer texture. Plant some flowers, especially because elephant ears, you don't grow for the flowers. So grow lots of flowers. I'm not a designer, but working for Tony, he always said drifts of one, and just basically color, texture, and form. Break it up. Color, texture, and form.
And there's nothing wrong with being unique. I think what Adrienne said about having fun and showing your personality in your garden is a good thing. I always get, with my talks, I have a slide that I used to use to make fun of somebody's yard. They had all kinds of little things in there, and they prune things into meatballs and whatever. And at some point, maybe with a little maturity, I realized that, hey, everybody else was cookie cutter. And this person, I had a sense of their personality, even though I'd never talked to them. And so I've always taken that to heart, and I don't care what my neighbors think about my garden. We have any more? Yep. Rain garden in shaded area.
It is feasible. And we have that. Neal, did you want to talk about specific plants?
I'm kind of racking my brain a little bit on the spot, but maybe I'm thinking about ferns and carexes. These sedges that are very popular now as ground covers do a great job of filling the ground surface up with plants. And the more you have a complete canopy coverage over the ground surface, the less weeds you're going to have. So that's a good strategy. But I would say probably your Carexes are a good place to start, and your ferns and that kind of thing.
And remember that this was mentioned, shade gardens are dry spots that get wet. They are not wet areas. That's a real common misconception. So you have to have something that will tolerate a few days of being really wet, but not all the time. So there's some great spreading ferns, for instance, that were mentioned that are phenomenal. The coniogramies and some of those. Greg, you had.
Yeah, just thinking of some resources that would be helpful. We mentioned Hoffman's Nursery. That's a great, we call it the Grass Bible, their catalog, but they've got a great online website.
So Hoffman Nursery, they're a great resource for information. They are wholesale. Right. Be careful about
it. It gives you. I'm saying resource. It gives you ideas of things to use. Another one is North Creek Nursery in Landover, Pennsylvania. I've done a lot of planting wetland areas, planting no-mow areas. Well, I had a very wet, shaded area that we had to fill in because it was washing the soil away, and a lot of that was carex and other things. And if you've got shade, if it's high shade, you're getting a lot more light than you think about. But also echoing what Mark said, thinking about that wet and that dry also. But those are two really good resources online. Lots of pictures, descriptions. Their catalogs are broken down by all those different strata of things, just to give you some ideas.
Part of what we do is try and really expand the palette. There are some great plants out there. Hemiboea. How many people have heard of Hemiboea? Yeah, 2 people. This is a African violet relative that grows fantastic for us. It spreads, and so it covers that ground. It is phenomenal in gardens like that. A chorus, which is the Sweet flag. There are some irises that do well in shade. They don't necessarily flower great, but they have great foliage. There's a lot out there that will do that, that will tolerate some soil. So they're great natives. They're great non-natives. They're great shrubs. The Cirilla will grow in shade. It grows great in sun, but it grows in shade. I've put our oak leaf hydrangeas in areas that flood. Our native oak leaf hydrangeas. There is a ton of plants.
Lots of hollies that can take shade that are native that will grow in those kinds of situations, wet or dry.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So some of you's got some issues with water and mosquitoes, and was asking about carnivorous plants as can they grow them, and maybe also want to answer whether it's a solution for lots of mosquitoes.
Your pitcher plants, the Sarracenias, they grow like gangbusters down here, and I don't know where you came from, but they probably grew where you came from too. Maryland. Yes, totally. Very far north, way up into Canada. And so they have a huge range on them. They're not going to take care of your bug problem, though. I hate to say it. They're just not that hungry. But we do have North Carolina has got some really fascinating carnivorous plants, including Venus flytraps, which are native here. So down on the coast. Mm-hmm.
Not for shade, though, for sun. And I do want to mention, this is a mosquito thing, so here's the take homes for me. The tillage radishes and our native, not the Asian ones, our native beauty berries, which will be great in the shade in a rain garden. The leaves of that, you take the leaves, you crush them up, you rub them on your skin. For me, it works better than Deep Woods Off. Doesn't smell, isn't sticky. I have beautyberry planted in multiple areas in my woodland. They're great plants, but I have them solely for the purpose that wherever I am, if the mosquitoes are bad, I can just break off some branches and rub them all over.
And the adult mosquito can go up to a mile for food. So even if you do something on your property, if your neighbors don't, sorry, my coworker just emailed me saying Mrs. Brown wants you to put mosquito dunks down, and I do. But I have neighbors who neglect their yard and the mosquitoes will come in. And those mosquito dunks are great for the larvae. They won't do anything for the adults. And you got to stay on top of it. The mosquito dunk is great because it stays in a solid form until it breaks down. Or you could buy the granulars too. But yeah, it's tough, believe me. And I like the idea of the beautyberry. I'll roll up leaves and put them in my shoes so they keep my ankles away. Keep away from my ankles.
Put them in my hat. Okay.
I think it
So
depends.
somebody new to the area, finding that ditches are everywhere here. And is that a good place to start with some kind of rainwater mitigation?
Yeah, if it's a right of way that we maintain, you just want to maybe communicate with us just to make sure you don't do something wonderful and then someone comes through and takes that away. Yeah. Yeah. If it's yours, then you please, like we always think, turf grass has a very short root system and it's hard to maintain. So if you can get anything with a deep rooted system that will tolerate those conditions, that are a great habitat and will allow the water to still function flowing through that swale. A grass swale is GSI, but it's even better if you can diversify those plants and make it work for multi-benefits.
So there's a question about learn more about permeable paving. I think that's probably going deep into that is a little outside of what we're doing, but there are resources that with go to Raleigh Rainwater Rewards. I think you can probably find that'll direct you to some great resources for that. We had somebody who's had his hand up for a while. All right. There was a comment that Gambusia affinis, a mosquito fish is good for eating mosquito larvae. I think we'll see what people have. Water gardens are a little beyond
We've tried that in the white garden, and other things end up eating them. It's just not a viable, for us, it wasn't a viable thing to try to do.
So question was from New Gardener, are there any perennial edible greens, ones that will come back year after year, that will stay year after year, and any good fruit trees for this area? I will say before we go to our panel that we do have some great resources online. We do some great programming with edible landscapes, some great resources here. So so there is some other things you can dig into that'll go more in depth than we can go into right here.
My brothers in arms over at Leaf and Limb were screaming pawpaw. That's a native fruit tree. It's kind of an acquired taste. It's very custardy, like a cross between a banana and I don't know what, a mango. Yeah. Fruit trees tend to have a lot of cultural issues here. Peaches are good in North and South Carolina, but lots of spraying to keep them alive. Apples, kind of the same thing. I'm gonna let some persimmon, native and the Asian one.
The Asian persimmons are great and they're beautiful trees.
As far as greens, that's your neck of the woods. Adrienne, I'm pointing at you. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Just remember that even though the plant says it's edible, just do your research because like rumix is edible, but you don't want to eat it raw. Plantain is edible, but kind of the same thing. Just don't want to eat it raw. But do your research. I do know a lot but I have the brain fog like everybody else because you're being put on the spot. But there are a lot. There are quite a bit.
And they're relatively easy to grow, the greens, and you can grow them for extended periods of time.
Yeah, just 1 second. So I also want to mention, and they were mentioned a little bit, some non-traditional fruits. Pomegranates, great here. God, they grow so well here. And if you've never seen a pomegranate flower, awesome. It's gorgeous. And there are all kinds of different ones. I grow one called Mini Francis. It's about this tall. Its flowers are about 1.5 inches, bright orange, and it gets little tiny pomegranate fruits. It's enough seed in there to sprinkle on an individual salad, and individual side salad maybe, but it produces a lot of them. One of my favorites is pineapple guava. It's a South American shrub. It is so beautiful, 12 months of the year. It's evergreen. It is gorgeous. The fruits are delicious. Plant more than one variety. One Green World is a good place to get them. But also the petals. And I've been fed a lot of edible flowers, and unless they're filled with ricotta and deep fried, I find them to be pretty meh. The petals on this pineapple guava are thick and waxy, just little things the size of your fingernail, and we show those to the interns, and you come back and there's not a petal on the flower as high as they can reach because they're sweet and really are delicious.
Okay, there's figs grow very well here.
Figs, yes.
And don't forget the shrubby fruits. Elderberry and blueberries also grow very well here.
And NC State has a great fruit breeding program, strawberries, but also they do a lot of the brambles, the blackberries and raspberries that usually with a bramble, it's the stem grows 1 year and then it fruits the next year. So you're going in and then you should cut out the stems that fruited. And so that means you're going in there with all those spiny stems because you got to let the new ones grow. They've really worked hard on developing ones that fruit on the first year's growth. So you harvest, cut the whole thing to the ground. Everything that comes up will fruit the next year.
I've got two more just because you reminded me of flowers. Yucca is a really delicious edible flower and grows really well here. It has really beautiful like stalk-like blooms. It's in the agave family, I think. I don't know. I'm going to talk to the horticulturist. Thanks. I'm a tree person. I don't know my perennials as well. But also one of our favorites that gets underutilized and we grow is Chickasaw plums. They are a really delicious plum variety. They kind of look like tomatoes. So they're like reddish when they're ripe, and we have at our test facility about like an acre, I think, of a plum patch, and it's delicious when you're like, oh no, I have to go look at the Chickasaw plums, and you just eat a bunch. They're really, really, really good. But we have a lot of native food crops that we just also don't utilize. So we also, when we're thinking about food production, black walnuts, pecans, there are a lot of food that we can get from trees and woody ornamentals and shrubs that we just don't always think about just because the processing takes a little bit longer. But if you're interested in experimenting, there's plenty of options out there.
Forsyth County in Winston-Salem, the Master Gardeners is having a Pawpaw Festival in 2 weeks, I believe. So go check them out. Andra Noss from the Mountain Research Station, she makes pawpaw ice cream. So she'll bring it down and she'll be there. In a couple weeks.
Could you repeat where that is?
The Forsyth County Master Gardeners, the extension office in Forsyth County. It's on Liberty Street. It's in Winston-Salem. It's not too far. It's actually right next door to the Smith Reynolds Airport, where they're having a Pawpaw Festival.
And I will say for many of these, not all that we've talked about, but many of them, planting different types together will ensure more fruit for cross-pollination. You don't have to worry about that with figs. They have a different method. But going back to an earlier question about things to pair with those tropicals, if you want some woody things, figs are very tropical looking with those huge leaves, and they're one of my favorite looking plants just as a plant, and the figs are an added bonus. Yep. So comment was that a lot of some of the things Adrienne talked about, the colocasia, elephant ears, and the bananas, while not necessarily edible, although poi is from an elephant ear root, must be cooked. That they're used in a lot of cuisines for steaming, cooking, adding another layer of flavor.
There's potato chips you can buy that's made out of taro. So taro is a very common food crop, especially in Hawaii. So when Tony Avent in Raleigh at Plant Delights partnered with a gentleman who would grow culinary, edible, whatever you want to use, but didn't think about growing elephant ears and mass producing them for ornamental reasons. Here in the States, we prefer that. So they partnered together and it created this wonderful palette of ornamental plants. But yeah, they can be edible, the root part, but don't eat it raw. Elephant ears are in the aroid family, which have crystallized acid, whatever, in the stems. If you eat it, you will swell and could cause huge problems. It's always processed. Bananas, the mucibaju, if you can get the plant to mature in time, the fruit that follows the flower, sure, you could probably go ahead and eat that too. Mucivalu, another one that I showed with the pink, there's nothing to it. It's only seed. It is gross.
Well, I think the comment was about the leaves. You can, in Southeast Asia, in the tropics, in the New World, often you wrap leaves. And I have done this. My daughter and I got into smoking stuff. We do it on a regular grill. We don't have a smoker. And we were having problems with too much sear on it. And we actually wrapped with banana leaves. And so we really went, east meets west, where we made our barbecue wrapped in banana leaves. And it worked fantastic because we're in our makeshift smoker and couldn't get the temperatures, the fire down low enough for that. It was awesome. That's, if you go to have a big pig roast, at your resort in Hawaii, they dig that pit, they wrap that pig in banana leaves and roast it. Southeast Asia, I've eaten a lot with banana leaves when I've been there. So I love that thought when we're talking about ornamentals, I mean edibles. So a couple comments from one of our great volunteers here, going back to earlier comment on volunteers, is one thing that we always say, it usually comes up through a question, and kind of we probably should have maybe mentioned it with the clay question, is get a soil test. You can get a soil test here in North Carolina. Go to the extension website and they can tell you, there'll be things to tell you how to do it, where to get those soil test boxes, where to drop them off. They will tell you what's going on with your soil. Remember, they're coming from an ag tech kind of an area, and they will always tell you to fertilize, always. You don't need to fertilize. I don't fertilize at my house. I do mulch with partially composted leaves, but our soils have a lot of nutrients in there, that clay. Thank you for saying that. And also, one of our biggest issues with exotics and wetlands is the fertility levels are artificially high in areas with increased exotics, and that's from runoff from us over-fertilizing our lawns. And the other comment was...
Soil samples are free now, by the way. They will charge, I think, after Thanksgiving. So they're free right now.
In the winter, the farmers send in hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, so what was the other comment? Oh, this will all be online. So these programs, we put them online along with our almost 800 other videos on our YouTube channel. So these will be online. We've had other Intro to Gardening in South talks, bulletproof plants for the South, how to build your soil, a lot of those on there. Also, we do have a survey on your sheet. We really would appreciate if you fill it out. We really do care about what you say. Online, will they be getting a survey? Online, you're getting a survey. Please do that. We're running out of time. If people want to make one last point, anybody?
I do.
All right.
The Great Southeast Pollinator Census count is going on right now. So all of the southeastern states, they are doing it today. They are open. They have opened it to tomorrow too. But I went to the website. It's the Georgia extension, the University of Georgia extension. Just go to their website or just search Great Pollinator Census count. And can they go anywhere? Can they go to some of your sites and count? Yeah.
They're doing it right now here. We've got a great video. We had a great interview with an extension agent about this particular topic. That's posted. It is posted.
One last plea. If you're not members, please become members. That's very important to us. And Mark mentioned some of the things that are going on. The plant giveaway this year, he's kind of underestimating it. It's going to be epic this year. The amount of stuff, the diversity of things. I'm telling everybody it's not to be missed. And you got to be a member to do that.
And you got to be here before 9.
Bring a helmet and gloves and shoulder pads.
No. It isn't that bad anymore. It used to be. Bring a wagon or some people bring laundry baskets.
Entire family, so they each carry 2 plants?
Nope. If you are an individual member, one person gets in. If you are a family member of a dual membership, 2 people get in. If you're higher than that, we can talk. But we'll yell at you. All right, guys, this is fantastic. I encourage anybody in the city of Raleigh to look into Raleigh Rainwater Rewards. It is an amazing program. We really want to work with them. Saw a lot of people with Leaf and Limb. Thank them for sponsoring this. We really appreciate what they do. We are not allowed as state entities to plug any business to promote them. I will just say that we do use Leaf and Limb here to do some of our work, and that's just what I'm saying. It's not a recommendation one way or another. Wherever you are, remember that sometimes we get frustrated at city, county, state, federal governments for whatever bureaucracies and things like that. But under all the people that like to get out in front of the cameras and talk, there is armies of folks who are making our communities better and doing fantastic things. And I will say for Adrienne here, don't go visit the garden she works at, but on behalf of her husband, who works at a public garden, visit public gardens. We've got some of the best in the world right here in the Triangle area. We've got gardens at NC Botanic Garden that are focused on natives. If that's something you're really interested in, man, they're awesome. We've got Duke Gardens, which has amazing displays, and some of their hardscapes over the last decade have been amazing.
Going to be on tour in April.
Adrienne's garden.
I'll send you the information.
Adrienne's home garden is going to be.
Home garden.
The work garden. It's a great garden. The garden she works at is going to be on tour, so in April. So that's awesome. But yeah, thank you all for being here. It is great to see this. I love when we have people who identify as new gardeners, new to the area, because there's so much to learn, and use us as a resource, whether you're a member or not. That is what we are here for. Thank you all.